Yo, what's up, everybody? It's been a long time to see you again. See you guys really, hopefully, it's been much better, and hope about the day it's become really better than me anyway. So I can say about that I really read uh some like a story, another mystery murder, also murder. It seems to be need to explain now. Now today I really bring you guys another episode of the Black Roses Paranormal Crime Unsolved Crime Mystery, and this is about the mystery murder in Keddie cabin. This is another next episode. So shall we begin? Of course, let's begin. This is an article just what I got, what not much, but I found it. So let's read right now. The mystery behind the Keddie cabin murders explained. In 1979, yes, that's long. In 1979, Glenna Susha left her abusive husband and moved herself and her five children from Connecticut to Quincy, California. As reported by Keddie 28, they initially rented a trailer home owned by Sharp's brother. However, it was simply too small for the family of six. In September 1980, Sharp found a large home in the former resort town of Keddie, California. History members report Keddie was once a bustling town with a busy rail terminal. However, many of the residents left and the town fell into disrepair when the railroad terminal was closed. The town was later promoted as a resort town, with opportunities for camping, hiking, and other recreation. Unfortunately, the town's attempt to reinvent itself fell short. Gary, Ma- Gary Mollard, who owned, of, owned one of the failed resorts, turned his cabin into long-term rentals unit for low-income families. Although the cabin's sharp maintained for Mollard was run down, it provided her and her family with more room. She also appreciated the fact that it wasn't a more rural wooded setting. Sharp's neighbors described her as a loner who only made one close friend in the community. Keddie 28 reports she was attending business classes at the Feather River Community College, where she was purportedly a good student who worked hard to maintain high grades. Local authorities confirmed she was not known to enforcement and did not have a criminal record. Three people were killed in the Keddie cabin. Keddie 28 reports Sue Sharp began dating a man named Daniel approximately 1 week before she was killed. However, they only went on a few dates, and the last time they saw each other was 2 days before she was killed. On Saturday, April 11, 1988, Sheila Saw spent the night with neighbors as she planned to attend church with them the following morning. However, she forgot to bring the clothes she planned to wear to church. As reported by Keddie 28, she returned to her family's cabin, which was only 50 feet away, at approximately 7:40 on Sunday morning to get her off it. When she opened the door, Shaw was horrified to find the bodies of her mother, brother John, and her brother's friend Dana Wingate, covered in blood on the floor of the front room. Keddie 28 reports Shaw immediately fled the cabin and ran to the neighbors for help. Authorities arrived at the scene shortly after 8 a.m. In addition to confirm Sue, John, and Dana were dead, the officers concluded they were murdered. In one of the bedrooms, authorities found Rick Gregg and their friend Justin Eason Smart unharmed. However, Tina was missing. As reported by Keddie 28, all three victims were bound with coarse medical tape and wire. According to Historic Mystery, John and Sue suffered blunt force trauma to the head and stabbed, were stabbed multiple times. Although Dana also suffered trauma to the head, she was strangled to death. Someone may have witnessed the attacks. Several of the suspected murderers' weapons were found at the scenes, including two knives and a hammer, which were covered in blood. Authorities conclude at least one of the knives, which was a stick knife, came from the kitchen of the cabin. Although the room was covered in blood, it was a, it was all traced back to the victims, as reported by Historic Mysteries. The only things the only thing authorities found them they may reveal the identity of the killer or killers was DNA collected from the piece of medical tape used to bind the victims. Sorry again, my nose is because really sneezing and I have a problem with yeah sinusite. This is really so bad for me. Well, I have an allergy that's it. So I can continue. Authorities interviewed neighbors and the boys who were inside the house when the attack occurred, but there were no eyewitnesses. Historic mystery reports neighbors heard muffled squeaks or groans, sometimes between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., but they did not realize anyone was but they did not realize anyone was in danger and simply went back to sleep. Rick and Greg Rick and Greg claimed they were asleep when the others were killed in the next room. However, their friend Justin was not as sure. As reported by the Mystic, Justin began having vivid dreams in the day after the murders. In his dreams, he saw two men in the front room of the cabin. One of the men was holding a small knife and a hammer. According to Historic Mysteries, John says Sue was talking to the man when John and Dana arrived home. The discussion suddenly erupted into a violent attack. Authorities identified Marty Smart as a suspect. Justin said he saw one of the men stab Sue short. Amid the attack, Tina came out of her room and was carried out of the house by one of the men, who came back inside the house without her. As reported by Historic Mystery, Justin was placed under hypnosis and questioned about the content of his dreams. While under hypnosis, he described the killer as a tall man with blonde hair and a mustache and a short man who was clean-shaven with dark hair. Justin said both men were wearing glasses, although Justin's dreams and the details he provided during hypnosis were chilling. It is unclear whether he actually witnessed the murders or the dreams simply echoing details reported by the media. It has also been suggested that he was asking leading questions during hypnosis. Nevertheless, authorities were determined to follow any possible leads. Based on Justin's description of the attackers, detectives identified Marty Smart, as one of the primary suspects in the cabin murders. As reported by Historic Mystery, Smart was Justin's stepfather, Amid. Amid his interview with police, authorities learned Smart and his wife were enrolled in a class with Sue. He also told authorities he had a hammer, which went missing around the same time the murder occurred. Historic Mysteries report Marty's wife Madeline found a bloody jacket in their basement, which she believed belonged to Tina. Okay, before that, I just want to show you about what happened there. In here, you can see that this is a photo of the cabin. Sorry about the quality of the video is not really good. You can see that this is a floor of the blood just here, and I'll show you. Okay, here This is the weapon. The murder weapon just get founded by inside the cabin. I don't know who just would use it. But the man, they say they're like a man, tall man, but I don't know who is he. That was something mystery. You know what? Sometimes about this murder weapon just get found with covered by blood. Okay, this is the photo of the suspect. I'm not sure which one is a right. It's a girl or it's a boy. I mean, it's a woman or it's a man. Is there something I don't know sure. They are really crazy because we don't know exactly sure who's the really killer there. Okay, I'll continue. Marty Smart reportedly confessed. Although Merrily gave it to authorities, History Mysteries reports there is no record that the jacket was entered into evidence. Marilyn also provided a letter she received from Marty, in which he said he confessed to the Keddie cabin murders. I've paid the price of your love, and now I bought it with four people live with. I bought it with four people's lives. ABC 10 reports the letter saying. As reported by Timber Creek Talon, Marty also purportedly confessed to the murders during a therapy session. Although the therapist alerted authorities, nothing was reportedly done. Smart moved to Reno, Nevada shortly after the conclusion of his police interview and was also never arrested or charged in the Keddie cabin murders. Other witnesses also interviews the few Marty's close friend John Bobidi, who lived there with Marty and his wife, and was out with Marty on the night the murders occurred. Bobidi, Bobidi told Bobidi told authorities he was a former Chicago police officer and that Marty was his niece, which were both later revealed to be untrue. However, History Mystery reports he was never arrested or charged in the murders. That's strange. On April 22, 1988, Tina short remains were found in the wooded area of Butte County, which, as reported by California News Times, was approximately 100 miles from Keddie. In 2016, a hammer, which could have been the one Smart reported say he lost, was found up in the pond near where the Keddie cabin once stood. The Keddie cabin murders remain unsolved. As reported by ABC 10, Joe Bobidi died in 1988 and Marty Smart died in 2006. Although authorities believe they were both involved in the Keddie cabin murders, they think may have had they may have had help. I believe there are two individuals that are alive and accessorities after the fact. Detective Mike Gambert said in an April 2021 interview with ABC 10. Former Plumas County Sheriff Greg Hackwood said he believes Tina is central to why the family was killed. In an interview with ABC 10, he said, "You killed three people in a cabin and you left the remains there to be discovered. I think there was something about Tina that could not be left there to be discovered. It's my strong sense that there's something about Tina that did not allow for her to be left there." Both Gamber and Hackwood say they believe authorities are getting closer to solving the case. Well, you have no idea about it. This is something story. It's written about the three people just get murdered. I had no idea. Is this true? This is really something. But really, it's remind me about when you be in the Keddie cabin, you know about the three people just already died. But really is, where's Tina? Tina's body just get found nearly on the Keddie cabin, and this is something strange. I mean, you can believe it. I know, okay, but who's really killed them? They're suspected they're Marty, the name that I had no idea. Yeah, this is not something good. Okay, so here it is. Okay, this is another cabin. Not, sorry, I mean it's another article, I guess. So we can read it now. This is really crazy. You know what? That's just they forgot. You know what? That's why I take a visit here. This is a photo of them. They're really strong. They're really young. Poor to them. They're just only die by the kill. Really crazy, right? I had no idea. No idea what the hell is wrong. Why they're why they really kill them really without really feel feel without feel guilty. This is another photo again. I will show you. Check it out. This is blood and really blood stain found. Blood stain just already in the floor. This is all victim just already get the crime scenes there. Okay, I really try again to read now. Okay, shall we continue? Okay, I continue right now. Unsolved mystery, the murder and corruption of the Keddie cabin. This is another article just so that I found that maybe this is complete so we know that what's going on. Cabin 28, an innocent two words, a note on the sign, perhaps a statement on the door. Yet to the small rural community of Keddie in the northern California, it is two words that bring back memories of revolution and horror, ones that may ones that many would like to forget. The cabin is the scene of one of the most brutal murders in American history, with three people mercilessly slain within its walls and a fourth, a 12 years old girl, being simply kidnapped. With confession and suspect in abundance, abundance, why has the case remained officially unsolved for 40 years? The reason lead us down to the dark part in the California backwoods with allegations surrounding drugs, child abuse, and police corruption that led to the downfall of an entire community in a vacuum of suspicion, paranoia, and revulsion. One of the one of the darkest tales in the history of American crime, the consequences what happened to Hartford Night in 1981 continues to spread its evil tentacles into the present with investigation still ongoing to bring some measure of closure and justice to all those affected. Murder. Glenn Glenna Susan Sharp life had not been a happy one, yet things were looking up. Having recently suffered at the hands of an abusive husband, James, she had taken the life-changing decision to relocate across the country with her five children to be closer to her brother Don Davis. Moving from Connecticut to first the Carolinas and then finally California, Glenda moved into the mobile home at the Claremont Trailer Park, with her husband visiting in 1979. He didn't stay, and there were accusations that he had become sexually abusive toward his own daughters. That November, she began renting a cabin at a resort in the Sierra Nevada community of Keddie. This former railroad town was named after its founder, railroad surveyor Arthur W. Keddie. With a tiny population, the location was rural and remote. This is cabin 28. You can see that this location there, but just only get demolished. You can see that here that Yep, there it is. That's a location I think aware about the body of the three people just already found and that found that inside there. Glenna, okay, I continue. Glenna had been born in Springfield, Massachusetts, and had recently celebrated her 36th birthday. Despite only having a modest income of $250, she doted on her children and was determined to make a new and better life. She enrolled in a California Education Training Act program and took a part-time job as a Quincy Elks Lodge, commonly known as Sue. The age of her children spanned from 5 to 15, which with each one having far different needs and interests. Yet there was there was no shortage of affection for outdoors-minded children, with forests, ponds, a river, and rugged mountainous terrain. There was even an opportunity to make friends with Sue meeting Madeline and Marty Smart on her on her training course. The boy Justin soon became friends with her own young children. You could be forgiven for thinking that was a perfect all-American ideally ide- idyllic getaway. Keddie, however, had fallen on hard times after the railroad terminal was shut down in the 1970s and wasn't quite the ideal many of those staying had imagined. With desperation forcing the owners to let up the campus and increasingly their values character. As soon will discover, the backwoods often have dark underbelly. Okay, I once again to show you guys about this photo. Four victims of the Keddie cabin you can be seated. If so, I just want to show you this picture. Now I show you again to make sure it's so clear. Okay, that's it. Okay, I'll continue now. It was on April 11, 1981, that Sue and her 14 year old daughter Sheila drove the 5 miles from Keddie to the town of Quincy. They had gone to pick up her 16-year-old son John and his friend Dana Wingate. However, just 2 hours later, both John and Dana were seen hitchhiking back to Quincy, with a local woman having given them a ride to a friend's home. The two were seen attending apart at Oakland camp later that day with other minors. Alcohol flowed freely, and there were reports of drug use. Back at Kennedy, Sheila decided to spend the night in the adjacent 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 cabin with the Seabold family, with Sue staying at home with her other son Rick and Greg. They were aged just 10 and 5. Staying with the boys from a sleepover was their friend Justin Eason, Sue's final child. 12-year-old daughter Tina was watching television at the Seabold cabin. She would depart to join her around 8 p.m., but found she had already left. Where Tina was because she had a home at 9:30 was never firmly established. Around 7 a.m. on April 12th, Sheila made the most horrific discovery imaginable. To her horror, she entered cabin 20 to discover that her family had been murdered in the night, with blood covering the floor. Soon John and his friend Dana lay dead, all three having been tied up with wire and tape. Tina was missing. Rick, Greg, and Justin, meanwhile, were thankfully unharmed in one of the bedrooms. The most vivid feeling, the most vivid image I have is of my brother laying there. They never heard say I came back screaming. They say I was They say I said it was Johnny, but I don't remember that. It's little bit confused. It could have been that I blocked it out, and the shock of it all too. This is it. You can see that right there. So Once again, I'm really sorry about the quality of the screen of the video. It's not so good. It cannot be autofocus. Sheila Sharp, Sheila Sharp People magazine. The alarm was raised at the Seabold residence and James Seabold rushed to the cabin, entering initially through the back door to check if anyone was alive. Having judged the scenes, he then retrieved the three boys door through the bedroom window, ensuring they wouldn't have to walk through the human slaughterhouse in the living room. While it is sometimes reported that the three that the three children had slept through the entire incident, this was not the case. At least Justin is believed to have witnessed some or all of the crime taking place. One of the first on the scene was Sue Sharp brother and the children's uncle Don Davis had been called by Shelia. The first police officer to arrive was Hank Clement, followed soon after by Under Sheriff Ken Shanks and Sergeant Jerry Shaffer. Davis positively identified the victims as Sue, John, and Dana. The killing shocked investigators with their brutality, with at least two knives and one hammer utilized against the defenseless victims. The weapons found at the scenes. Police believe Police believe there was another hammer which was missing from the cabin. One of the knives, a stick knife, had been welded with such force that the blade had bent. Sue's body had been covered with a blanket, her body laying close to the sofa. She was on her side, and, and there is some evidence that her body had been rearranged. The arrangement, interestingly, had made her more decayed. So having been naked below the waist, she, she had been gagged with a bandana and her own underwear. There were defensive wounds on her arms, and she had received a stab wound to the chest, a slashed throat and head injury from an air rifle. She had suffered far more extensively than the other victims, suggesting she either angered the assailants by fighting back or there was personal vindictiveness against her. Despite the removal of her underwear, there was no evidence she had been sexually assaulted. The area for use as assault Sue was deduced to have been a Daisy 880. Interestingly, it is described as ideal for young shooters and designed for experiences. Put plainly, it is a children's weapon was now found at the scenes. John, meanwhile, also had his throat cut and his bandana had been strangled, their ankles bound together using an electrical cord. All three victims had been extensively beaten about the head with a hammer, and blood splatters suggested the bodies had been moved. This is being staged. Investigators put the time of the attack as between midnight and 2 a.m. There was a blood on the walls of the bedroom Sue shared with her girls. There was a blood on the ceiling and furniture of the living room. It was on the bedroom doors and the outside stairs handrail. There was even blood on the soles of the victims' feet, suggesting they were moving during the attack. That was far from quick. Okay, this is I just already show you guys about the murder weapon. Just already this guy doing to kill this family. Police immediately began a significant investigation, not only into the shocking triple homicide but also the disappearances disappearance of Tina Sharp. Tina's jacket and shoes were missing from the cabin alongside a shoebox that she had made from a class project. She had a particular attachment to the box, and the fact she had seemingly been alone to take it is important to fuel the conclusions. Being a possible abduction, the FBI was asked to investigate it. Questioner, question, Questioning the resident at Keddie Resort, they discovered that a couple nearby had had heard muffled screams around 1:30 a.m., but were unable to determine a location. Neither Sheila nor the Sebo family had heard anything. Other witnesses had seen a brown Datsun parked at the cabin that evening, and others not a green fan. Further, Further afield, witnesses report that John and Dana had been seen hitchhiking back to the Keddie after their party, the time being at some point between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. Evidence for inside the cabin itself was merger, with no signs of forced entry and only a solitary fingerprint found on the handrail leading to the back door. The killer or killers had ensured that they would not be interrupted during their orgy of violence, taking the telephone off the hook, turning out the lights, and closing the drapes. The lack of the fingerprints suggested that mostly wore gloves. Despite the chaos of the scenes, the murder were seemingly well thought out, as opposite to a momentary explosion of rage. In fact, were not for the carnage, there was no evidence there had been intruders at all. Police began to look towards suspect and identify a man who had left Keddie from Oregon shortly after the killings. Arrested and put under a polygraph, he passed and was dismissed with some ease. A family friend claimed that Dana Wingate stole LSD from local drug dealers, which may have served as a motive, but the police recovered no evidence that this was true and found no drugs at the cabin. Despite innuendo, police also rejected the surrounding ritual killings, believing that the answer of the case lay far closer to home. One of the shop's neighbors at Keddie Resort would become a focus of some interest in the case. His name became linked to the murders for nearly 40 years. That that being Martin Smart, the stepfather of Justin Eason. This is a photo of him. You can see that. That's so clear that I think this guy just is suspected. But he's died in 1988. Well, sadly. Smart was very dangerous individual, notably obsessed with the Bible and preaching around other people's loose morals. He was almost stereotypically hypocritical. Once, following an argument with his father, he was known to have purchased bomb making equipment to blow up his house. He had tried to buy guns and was known to practice his skills, utilizing a hatchet as a weapon. Since the time of the murders, his ex-wife Marilyn has claimed that he was not only a wife beater, but had tried to murder her on several occasions. Having recently lost himself as a cook, Morty was supporting his family by both selling and manufacturing hash, being in control of the large-scale drug house with his own runners. Having seemingly moved quickly in the drug game, he likely felt he had found his calling. Perhaps his quick aptitude was thanks to his friend Joe Bobby. According to later statements by Martin, he and Bobby had had first become friends when the two men were patient together at the Veterans Administration Hospital in Reno, Nevada. Smart had attended the hospital while claiming to suffer from PTSD from his time serving in Vietnam. While it's possible that might have been true, investigators note that he served as a cook, and it was more likely he was attempting to obtain federal assistance and other potential benefits. After the meeting at the hospital, Smart and Bobby became inseparable, with Bobby even moving into cabin 26 at Keddie alongside Martin and his wife. Melanie did not object, fearful of what her husband's reaction might be if she rejected the unexpected house guest. While the focus of the investigation might well be Martin, it was like it was likely Bobby who called the shots in their odd relationship. He was affirming a deal that the criminally illiterate, illiterate Martin, having convictions for bank robbery, breaking and entering, and home invasion. He was linked to the mafia, and the notorious Chicago office made him famous by Al Capone. However, while that might sound impressive, others say he was little more than, than a two-bit hoodlum. There is some debate over the nature of the relationship between the Smarts and Sue Sharp. Some say that Sue was counseling Marilyn of her violent husband, attempting to convince her to flee as she had done. Others say that Martin Smart was in fact having an affair with Sue. Others still say both these facts are accurate. For her part, Sheila Sharp doesn't believe her mother would have been involved with a man like Smart, despite the fact Martin had a reputation for playing away from home. This is another from Sheila Sharp. See why she say like this. My mom's character had been subject to all manner of cruel supposition, including accusation that she was a drug addict, drug dealer, prostitute, or at the very least, an unfit mother. For the record, she was none of these things. She was kind and loving mother who was doing her very best to raise 5 children alone. She was dutiful in her attention to each of us, and while we live in relative poverty, we also live in the hope of love. That's why she said it. She also just say it like that because about she believed that her mother is so really loving their children always. In the funeral following the murders, Martin Smart claimed that the clawhammer was missing from his cabin. His stepson, his stepson Justin Easter, meanwhile, gave conflicting accounts of his experience on the night of the murder. At first saying that he had dreamed of the events before, later stating that he had actually witnessed them. There were also conflicting accounts of Justin's whereabouts. Well, it's not accepted that he had been in the bedroom with Rick and Greg, was early version on these two boys as having been in the room. Equally, he claimed both one and two men were present. Undergoing hypnosis, he said he had heard sounds from the living room while watching television with Rick and Greg. Getting up to investigate, he allegedly saw two men with Sue, both both wearing sunglasses. The first he described as having a mustache, a short hair, and oppositely the second being clean shaved with long hair. During the confrontation, John and Dana arrived, and a fight ensued. Tina walked in on the chaos and was bundled out of the back door by one of the men. This is really something crazy that I just want to show you the picture, right? So the sketch maybe this is maybe okay. I show you them again. This maybe these two guys just already doing the murders that happened. I'm not sure, but this time we really want to know the more than. So we continue to explain this. Forensic hypnosis that has been widely used by U.S. agencies since the Second World War. However, it has since been debunked by critics as pseudoscience. Experts have said that there is no evidence that repressed memories actually exist, nor that memory can be improved over time. They also state that the witness can be easily led through to suggestion and reversely hostile witnesses can direct the course of an investigation through easily prepared fraud while claiming to be under hypnosis. The sessions were conducted by the then county sheriff Doug Thomas, and he attended to just two training sessions, and transcript clearly show Justin was led. By April 29, the AP was already backing out the case, stating that those who involved were only doing an adequate job, and their presence was unnecessary. The ransom demand had been issued, and doubts began to be raised over the theory of a kidnapping at all, with many feeling Tina was dead, despite searching a 5-mile radius with dogs and jeeps. Nothing was found on the 12 years old. There was until April 2020. That was until April 22, 1988. Strangely, exactly 3 years after she vanished from Keddie and over 100 miles away, a bottle collector by the name of the Ronald Pedrini was walking in the woods near the hamlet of Feather Falls in neighboring but county when he came across part of the cranium. Investigator later finding part of the mandible and eventually other bones. The remains belonged to Tina. She'd been dead since at the previous autumn. Despite the find, the police investigation continued in the same manner as it had since day one, with very little evidence sprinkling of the page of the case file. Police noted in a particular that, despite appeals, nobody came forward to say that they had been at the party in Quincy with John and Dana. Others say that others say they saw a two men described by Justin Eason also in Quincy, yet nobody could put a name to the faces. Despite only Sue Shaw being gagged during the murders, nobody apparently heard a thing, even though all the houses were incredibly close together. People were silent and there were dead ends everywhere. Despite an entire room we kept open at the Plumas County Sheriff Department long after the murders, the train seemed to have gone cold. Corruption. While many unsolved cases go cold simply because of the lack of evidence or the killers managing to cover their tracks, that was not in the case with the Keddie cabin murders. And in fact, arrests and prosecution should undoubtedly have been made, while frustrated investigators faced of a lack of resource. They were also saboted by actors close to their own investigation. The wife of Marty Smart Madeline has claimed that she found a blood-stained jacket belonging to Tina in the family basement and handed it to police. However, this claim is disputed, and no official record of this discovery exists. Whether these records have vanished or the suggestion is simply not valid is open to conjecture, and at its word, nothing that police found a blue nylon jacket near where Tina Sharp's school was found. The coat was found alongside a blanket, a pair of Levi's with a missing back pocket, and a used reel of surgical tape. While we might put the claims down to a vindictive ex-wife, police error, or simple misremembering, the suggestion might just get a little more weight considering other lost evidence that was subsequently found. Following the discovery of Tina Shop's school, police received an anonymous tip that the remains belonged to Tina before the pathologist had made for a formal declaration. This code was created but never entered into evidence and was found languishing at the bottom of cardboard the bottom of the cardboard box at some point after 2013. Caller, hello. I was watching the news and they were talking about the skull they found at the feather's wall, and they're asking for any help. Dispatcher, uh-huh. Caller, and I was just wondering if they know of the murder up to the Keddie up in Plymouth County a couple years ago where a 12-year-old girl was never found. Yeah, this is something really between caller and dispatcher. Call tran by call transcript published by CBS Sacramento. All right, I still have mentioned in 2008, Madeline Smart stated in a documentary on the case that her husband and John Bobby D were responsible for the murders. Martin having hate John Sharp. Marilyn said that she left a local bar around 11 p.m., leaving her husband and his friend still drinking. Around 2 a.m., she awoke and her house to find both men burning an item in a stove. Reports suggest that Martin Smart and Joe Bobby D have arrived in Keddie's back door at 10 p.m. In the company of Marilyn, where separate reports suggested that they may have also been in the bar later, wearing sunglasses and suits while being roused. However, what many reports have revealed is that Martin had asked Marilyn to invite Sue Sharp, with Bobby D having apparently taken a shout to her. While it's likely that the romantic interest was actually on Martin's part, this will seem to be contradict claims that the killings were premeditated, premeditated, meditated, or that there was intense animosity between the four, despite Sue rejecting the invitation. Following the killings, Martin left both his wife and Keddie, traveled to Reno, Nevada. There he penned a letter to Marilyn which states, "I paid the price of your love, and now that I bought it with four people's life. You tell me we are true. Great. What else do you want?" Once again, the letter was never entered into evidence despite the police being aware of it. Sheriff Thomas did not think Smart was a suspect, praising his cooperation and having provided endless clues that threw the suspicion away from him. Thomas pointed out the fact that the suspect has passed a polygraph test, and while this is true, in future conversation with the counselor, Smart said he beat it. "Those things are easy to beat. I was lying, and they let me go." Martin Smart. He say like this now. Really, you can see the big alphabet there. Check it out. Sorry again. Quality of the screen is not really good. Okay, I continue now. Seemingly destined to be a case that will forever remain unsolved. The investigation was given never new impetus when Greg Hackwood became Plymouth County Sheriff. Hackwood has been 16 at the time of the killings and knew the Sharp family personally. Working on the painting crew at the county fair with John Sharp and Dana Wingate the previous summer, he re-interviewed all suspects too, took new witness statements and pored over the case file. He even finally identified how John and Dana got home from the party that they had attended, interviewing a woman who picked them up while hitchhiking. His determination to see justice was aided in 2016 with the discovery of what he believed he believed is the missing murder weapon. The second hammer, which investigators had long known must have existed, must have existed, was found in a local pond following a tip by a family member of John Bobby. Other sources say that tip was made animal anonymously. A third source that say the information came from the metal detectorist. No matter how it's found, no matter how it was found, Hackworth acknowledged that it had put and it had been put there deliberate, 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 deliberately stating at the location it was found. It would have been intentionally put there. It would not have been accidentally misplaced. Plymouth County Special Investigation Mike Gamberg, who had been friends with Dana's Wingate back in 1981, believes that Smart and Bobby D were undoubtedly responsible for the killings. The alleged killers who live here, did they have any problems with law enforcement prior year? Was prior? Yeah, both of them had records. Here are things that were done, but I think most importantly there are things that were not done. They have that are hard to explain. From Mike Gamber, CBS Sacramento. Both Hackworth and Gamber have no qualms about declaring the local investigation into the Keddie cabin's killers corrupt, with the two men revealing that clear admissions of guilt had been made by Martin Smart and ignored. Gamber stated that the entire massacre was covered up, and it appeared that instead of arresting the suspect, the police told them to leave town. As we know, Martin Smart quickly ended up in Reno. Intriguingly, intriguingly, the day of the murder was covered. Mary also moved out from her cabin. I am not by nature a conspiracy theorist, but there are the facts and circumstances, the number and the nature of which I cannot ignore. Greg Hall CBS Sacramento. During his time in Reno, Smart is said to have confessed to a Reno Veteran Administration counselor who subsequently subsequently reported his claim to the Department of Justice or DOJ officers working in the case with Sheriff Thomas. In fact, he confessed again and again. He claimed that Sue was a target and that the others got in the way. Nothing was filed. Nothing was filed. There is there is only so much incompetence that can be claimed before it becomes completed. I killed the woman and her daughter, but I didn't have to do with the boys. Alleged conviction of Martin Smart. With Susan allegedly trying to help Marilyn leave her husband, resulting in Marilyn wanting a divorce, and Martin certainly hating John. Either one could potentially have been the initial target of the attack, if not both. If Justin Eason's testimony was correct, a drunken confrontation ended in a moment of violent carnage. Yet this fails to explain the seemingly premeditated across of the killers, perhaps even going as far as to stage alibis at Keddie's backdoor bar and for the most part wearing gloves. Photo of the cabin. This is you can see that. See, that's a cabin 28. The Keddie cabin where about the three people just already found die inside there. Oh my god, there's so much. There's so much file that you know. Okay, I'm gonna keep continue reading for you guys. While it may seem that Martin Smart and John Bobbitt are the likely killers at Keddie Cabin, it must not be so simple. In April of 2018, it was revealed by Mike Gamber that DNA evidence from the piece of tape at the crime scene had been successfully linked to the living suspect. Martin Smart had died in 2000 and John Bobbitt in 1988. Wow. Sorry again, that's my mistake. I say Martin Smart died in 1988. It's wrong, sorry about that. The presence of DNA linked to a living individual who fly in the face of the evidence given by Justin that said that only two suspects were present, bringing his entire testimony into doubt. Following the initial hypnosis session with Sarah Thomas, the young Justin Eason had extra professional session with Dr. Jerry Dash, a physical psychology at the children's hospital in Los Angeles. These sessions revealed to claim that Tina had entered the room while her mother was being assaulted and being bundled off of the back door. One of the men returned to retrieve a knife. However, like the initial session, these even show a shocking level to leading towards the child witness and the validity of hypnosis remain in doubt. Why Justin Issa would have been alone to stand and watch even unfold has never been adequately adequately explained, nor why, by his own telling. He was the one who covered Sue's body and made her decant. Equally, the theory does not explain why Tina's shoes, coat, and favorite shoebox were missing if she was removed in haste, nor why Martin would have only have removed Tina's body from the scenes. While we might suggest that the man of self-delusional morality could have facing having killed a child, or simply did not wish to be known to his accomplice accomplice accomplices accomplice this comes close to the manipulate the facts to fit a precon precon preconceived idea. Hackwood and Gamber believed that the long-believed version of events recanted by Justin is unsolved, and the real motive behind the case may be kidnapping of Tina Sharp. If you kill three people in a front room and extract the little girl from a bedroom, a motive has to be attributed to her. There is no end to speculation on why Greg Howard the secretary be. While Hackman does not state in on the record, the theory was Tina Shaw was kidnapped by a pedophile. One link to powerful local man has been made. It was a theory that was backed in by some in the FBI. Photo of Tina Shaw. You can see it her. Check it out. Well, poor to her. John E. Douglas, a special agent and unit chief with the FBI, shockingly believed that Tina may, in fact, have been involved with what transpired in the cabin. One of the first criminal profilers in the United States, Douglas, too, though that the killers were after know and not premeditated, not in the domestic application of the weapons. Those determined to commit a crime had ready to access the better tools. Douglas believed that the crime was committed by a single individual and Tina left intentionally. He thought this person was likely involved in a relationship with the 12-year-old girl, having successfully groomed her. What the murders were never planned was that have Tina was enlisted into assisting in the atrocity. The profiler notes the repositioning of the bodies and how Sue was covered and made descent. This can seemingly stand against the wanton explosive violence. It is unknown whether Douglas was aware or Justin Issa claimed to be the one who had covered the body. Given given the confident, unreliable accounts of Martin, Justin, and Marilyn, and almost everyone else associated with the case, it's not hard to feel a little of the frustration that must have faced the investigator. Either way, Hackwood and Gamberg believed that more than two people were involved in the killings and that the wider conspiracy was a work to cover up the crimes involving at least six people. This is the photo of the John Bobo DVD. This photo there, you can see it. Wow, this guy is so really disrespected by something. Okay, I'll continue. One theory that has been suggested is that Bobby Lee was protected by the DOG, having been an informant against his Chicago mob affiliates. The men who were sent to Keddie by the DOG were from organized crime, not homicide. We can only speculate whether missing evidence such as a logbook detailing how the investigation proceeded came at the behest of the DOG of those involved in the killing. Still, fingers had been pointed in the direction of Sheriff Thomas. In fact, during his consolidation, Smart alleged that Thomas even used to live with him in cabin 28. The two men apparently lived together before the Sharps arrived for during a period of the marital strife between Martin and Madeline. They were said to have been friends. Some even suggested that the two men were involved in low-level cons together. However, Martin has denied the claims that he was friends with Martin, stating that he merely offered one session of marital advice to the couple, nothing more. He denies that he ever lived with Martin or had any further contact before the killings, putting speculation down to people's imagination going wild. Martin's wife was not a friend of mine. At one point, he and his wife were having marital problems, and they came to my office when I was sheriff and wanted me to counsel them. First of all, I had just gone through a divorce at the time. I told them, "Why will you want me to counsel you?" Sheriff Douglas People magazine. Melanie likewise has no recollection of the two men being friends and denies that her husband had ever stayed with him. Sharon Thomas believes that claims of the conspiracy are the imaginative work of the online conspiracy theorists who wish to make a case of simple brutality into something more profound. He denies any he denies any accusation for corruption. There was no shortage of suspects, but suddenly, now everybody 35 years or so later have a figure to out what happened, and that all of the investigative officers were corrupt. It's laughable, is what it is. Share Dr. Most People magazine, you know what they 6 weeks after the killing at Keddie, Sheriff Thomas moved at the new job with peace officer standard and training posts. This agency governs all law enforcement operations in the state of California and establishes the standards expected for the selection, training, and supervision for police officer. The job was under in the auspices of the DOG. No matter what the truth really is or down what evidence it might take them. Hackwood and Gamble remain to try to bring some measure of justice to the members of the Sharp family. It might it's my belief that there were more than two people who were involved in the totality of the crime, the disposal of the evidence and the adoption of the little girl. We're convinced that there are a handful of people that fit those roles who are still alive. I have a measure of the confidence that we have identified some of them, and we're gonna be coming. It could be it could be next month, it could be next year, but really the focus in our pri- priority is getting the truth, getting the answers. Get helped by CBS Sacramento. There's no shortage of theory as to why Sue, her children, and their friend died that night. Having involved herself in the affairs of dangerous smart family was the target Sue herself? If, if it was a drunken argument that simply exploded, had John Sharp finally angered Martin once too often? Was there a drugs angle? The possible victim of the pedophile was kidnapping Tina the real motive all along? Just how long did she live before her bones were found 3 years later? And most devastatingly of all, were some of the children involved in the killings? One must believe that that those two carriers of the brutal kills at the Keddie resort is not in the dispute. There were two other suspects during the case that are worth nothing. Well, you can see that this is a photo of the shark family. You can see that there when the baby is so cute. You can see that. Okay. Okay, here it is. Yep, that's not me with something good. Well, it seems like about this one is too much. I can say, but really, okay, well, the whole time I say that this is gonna be crazy. You might never know that what happened there, because about the we all never know who's the real killer of this Sharp's family. Is a Marty Smart, or uh can say, but I mean, maybe Body B or Barbie D, or somebody that, because the suspect can never be found, and that's something really we might never know that for sure. And since like, but this article is so long that so I cannot read all that anyway. I just want to cut the scenes that anyway. For a time we never might never for sure, but where if we heard about the murder, the killer, I mean the killer of the killing this family will be found, and we get arrested in the jail forever, and just doing the execution, and that's it. Hope about this Hope about this will nothing happen again to other families or something, somebody just already lived there. Okay, that's it only for today, you guys. Thank you so much again to watching Black Roses Paranormal Unsolved Crime Mystery today. And sorry again because I just scratching my head, scratching my nose, and scratching my something just already in my body because I'm so itching. Sorry again, I really apologize when I have a wrong words again. I really apologize. I'm really sorry because about the only I want to share to you guys about something unsolved crime mystery just like this anyway. So anyway, thank you so much again, and I see you next time to other next video, and ciao and bye. See you later. Bye bye. So bye.